And welcome to another jungle tutorial, and in this one we are going to be taking a look at that quintessential jungling question. Should I farm or should I gank? Now obviously there is heavy crossover and you must learn to weave in ganks with your farm. We are going to look at one playstyle that heavily focuses on ganking, forsaking entire sides of your map for long periods of time just so you can have that kill impact on the lanes, versus another playstyle which is focused on camp sequencing, getting rubber banded experience, and then weaving in those ganks as well. And obviously both playstyles have merit and have a place. It's just about identifying when and how you should do these things, and we'll see who comes out on top. And you know I don't like doing the YouTube thing, but we are on the road to 100k subscribers, so if you do enjoy this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos just like this, and perhaps leave in the comments a topic you would like covered from a laner or jungler perspective. And on screen you should be seeing the runes, the abilities for our junglers, and today we're looking at a Qiyana vs Dr. Mundo matchup. Specifically the Dr. Mundo is our focus purely because he is actually one of those very sleeper OP picks. His win rate has been climbing steadily over the last couple of patches as Riot have given him a few buffs, and when used with fleet footwork gives him that sustain and a little bit of movement speed that is ever so useful on a champion without dashes. And we have Qiyana on the other side, and she is definitely a champion, with nothing wrong with her whatsoever, very balanced. Both junglers are focused on that red side clear, Mundo starting on the Raptors red Krugs, Qiyana going for the red Krugs Raptors. The order doesn't really matter because you get level 3 from the red side. It is much more heavily weighted on experience than the blue side, where you do not get level 3, and that's of course why everyone loves that red side so much. Now Qiyana's focus here is lane impact, and when I say lane impact I mean the heaviest lane impact you will see in a while in one of these videos. The Mundo just wants to do his top 3 camps, go back to base, do the bottom side. Qiyana on the other hand goes to the top lane after going through the mid lane already. She gets a little bit too aggro on the enemy Trundamere, but her flash is burned, his flash is burned. That means she can take the Scuttle Crab and then repeat and abuse. However, right before she does that, the Mundo has done his whole blue side jungle. He's done the bottom side crab, and he moves on at the same time to make a gank on the mid lane. Obviously when you're ganking in Akali and she gets solo, you can't help but flash in and get that kill. Unfortunately for the good doctor, he is in a sea of minions and ends up giving her a kill as well. Not the most ideal outcome. Just make sure you understand that you gave kill gold over to the Akali, your Volkas is sitting there like a bunch of squid sushi. You need to make sure you come back and help him out in a little bit. And because he took the time to gank after clearing those blue side camps, once he respawns and heads to the Krugs, he'll be able to sequence on down again. Now during this time you've seen Akali gank again on the top lane, once again tanking even more tower shots, trying to get the Trundamere down, and instead of actually doing her own farm, she stays on the top lane to shove that wave and tries to get tower plates. The Trundamere is now completely zoned off like Dyrus in season 4. He has no TP and they're going for heavy denial of the Trundamere. His problem is he steps too far up as the Fiora chases him and ends up actually getting killed by the Qiyana. He gave her what she wanted and what she needed to remain in the game. Had he not died to her, yes, he loses some of that experience, but the Mundo would be on his way. As you can see, he's coming up to do his Krugs to be able to gank, and the Qiyana gets nothing while losing out on rubber banded experience on the top side and also having only done 3 camps total. So heavy ganking can be really great for your laner and for yourself, and because you tilt the enemy laner into making these sorts of mistakes. However, let's just hold off on that because even more is coming. And now the worst thing you can do as a jungler in this case, both laners back off before Mundo arrives so he's not able to pick anything up. Don't hard push and just smash all the minions as quickly as you can. That would be bad for your laner. Let the tower hit it once, hit the minion again. Obviously your micro mechanics for CSing under tower will vary depending on the champion you're playing. Either way, you don't want to push the wave in any way that would allow the Fiora to freeze it and thereby basically kill Trundamere's entire game. So obviously from here the good doctor will return down to his Krugs, go to the Raptors, get some of that juicy experience second spawn jungle camp, and you'd think Qiyana could very easily go to a blue, then do Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, Krugs, you know, sequence down, get her camps into a nice rhythm. But no, she doesn't do that. She goes straight through the jungle, hops over the dragon pit, skips over the nether wall, and tower dives the bottom lane, who are kind of low but not, you know, that low. She picks up another 2 kills. You will see from high elo junglers, especially in this particular MMR range, that they will not be afraid to completely ignore camps and sides of the map to make these kind of tower dive plays, to make those repeat ganking on the top lane and then fall back to the camps afterwards. This gives your laners leads, an ability to 2v2 1v1 their own lane, and that's exactly what you want. Obviously, the lower the MMR you are, that's less likely to happen. So in the case you are the Qiyana, you are ganking, cleaning up, you have all the kills, having this heavy ganking style where you get fed and then you can control things a lot more is very beneficial. However, from the Mundo's point of view, you could punish her by taking those blue side camps. However, when she eventually gets back up there, she's gonna get boosted experience if she's behind in any way. So if you leave them at level 1, well, she's kinda screwed. She won't get any bonus catch-up experience. Whereas he's carefully sequenced his camp very nicely, he's level 6 and he can return to the mid lane and try and give Vel'Koz a little something for his tower dive earlier. Kali goes into a smoke, he ignites the flames of death surrounding him, she tries to escape but doesn't have a flash thanks to the earlier gank, and Vel'Koz can finish her off with his ultimate, getting back some of that kill gold. Very nicely done from the Mundo, good camp sequencing, held the top lane, got a cheeky gank in the mid, so he's not having zero impact, he's just prioritizing his own camp farm in order to maximize his experience gain and then weaving in ganks during that downtime. It's a playstyle I'm more subscribed to, but remember, when you do this and the Qiyana is having huge impact on the lanes, you do have to be active in some kind of way and you do have to control the crabs and control the dragons. A jungler who's prioritizing his farm and then ganking has to be able to secure objectives or your impact is going to be next to none. And yes, you do have to gank, remember that. As much of you probably like Farming Simulator, this isn't it. And you're probably thinking, well, now the Qiyana can go to a blue side jungle. Nah, she goes to the bottom side, hits the plant, sees the Mundo on the Drake, the Mundo's very low. What the Mundo should have done is taken the honey fruit, waited a second, and hit the plant directed at the bottom lane so it goes over the tri-bush. This is purely because his bottom lane is pushing. His bottom lane doesn't have full resources, and the enemy jungler apparently doesn't know that she is meant to farm jungle camps and is only farming champions in the lanes. And so what he could have done is, because they have control ward vision, is waited after taking those honey fruit to hit the plant, get vision on the enemy jungler, which either forces her to go back, or you can set up that counter gank, just a little bit of patience. However, he does go back to base, he ignores the bottom lane who do get ganked by the enemy jungler, and because they're hard pushing despite the vision, there really wasn't much they could do. They don't have any dashes, they were lower on resources, it is a Qiyana. However, she was pinged out, they knew she was there, and that's why I made my last video, right? Because laners ignore those pings, they don't track the enemy jungler, and they get caught out. However, in the jungler's case, their lane is pushing, set up the counter gank, and make a play for your team as well. The only defense here is that the Mundo is very low resources, and the honey fruit probably wouldn't have been enough to replenish him to a level where they could have actually won a fight. However, the Mundo does have lanes in his mind, and we're going to see a good sequence here. Once you've gotten, 2 or 3 rotations in your jungle with those camps, you do have an experienced lead, and perhaps a little bit of a gold lead if the enemy jungler hasn't been able to get kills and ganks. Obviously, the Qiyana has in this game, but your laners are behind when he goes up to clean up a kill on the Fiora, who is overstaying, thinking that Mundo is focusing on his farm. And there's a little bit of mislead there, right? When you're farming a lot, laners can have a false sense of security. Their vision can become a little bit lacking. And when you're Mundo and you have a cleaver, you have fleet footwork, it's very easy to chase someone down. However, the donation of the kill in this case will be very welcome from the Trinity given the pressure he faced level 1 through 3. And so as Qiyana finally does those blue side camps 9 minutes into the game and the Mundo does his Krugs and Raptors for a third time, you can see from the itemization they are roughly in the same spot gold-wise. However, Mundo has that experience lead, so when you sequence your camps well and throw in those ganks every now and then, help your top laner out, secure Drake, get the scuttles, you will have much higher experience than someone who is focused entirely on ganking and having lane impact. And now here comes an excellent play by the Purple Hulk. They end up going face to face, Qiyana cannot match up with him, she dashes and runs away. Mundo begins to chase after her but uses misdirection and throws a cleaver sideways to the Akali, and that is one of the biggest things we've talked about in the past in my jungle videos. Misdirection. Disguised intent. They really thought he was going to throw the cleaver onto the Qiyana, but he turned and threw it on the Akali. She burns a flash, she ends up dying, and finally Dr. Biceps walks into the enemy jungle thinking he can finally do some counter jungling and really try and suppress her and keep her in her own jungle, keep her experience down so those ganks carry less weight, but you see how much damage he has and they end up killing each other. So at this stage you can really draw an equal line which was better, farming or ganking. I think we can all agree that the Mundo's approach is definitely a more healthy one. However, sometimes when you do this and your laners are being really beat up and you don't gank a little bit more often, you can end up in a situation where you end up losing the game because the Qiyana just has such a huge lead, their laners have such a huge lead. And here is probably a letdown of a conclusion. It really depends on the game. Do you have lanes that are gankable? Are there targets that are low that you could tower dive this early? But I really don't advise having an entire side of your camps left up until 9 minutes. That is such a waste of experience, such a waste of that blue buff. You could really use these things within the flow of the game without handcuffing yourself too much. The Mundo showed that camp sequencing with ganks is definitely one of the best ways to get experience leads as well as maintain pressure on a jungler who is ganking a lot. So let's transition this and look at the notable plays in the mid and late game and what ends up being a better playstyle overall, for your laners as well as for yourself. And the fact that Mundo has gained control of his own jungle as well as the rivers means he can go to the mid lane. Oh look, Vel'Koz got a 1v1 kill, so the ganks in the mid lane proved useful. The laner took the lead and is able to use it 1v1. Excellent. Let me go to the bottom lane and see if we can get a kill there. We pick up one thing, the Qiyana rotates, but the level lead from the Mundo, the big frontline beast that he is, makes it very difficult for anyone to really deal with him at this current stage. And because they're able to shove off the enemy, that gives them free access to yet another dragon. Qiyana tries to get a kill on the Valkars, punishes lazy backs, she can't even do that. Mundo goes top lane, engages in a trophy versus sword fight, and then Trinimir spins around and ends up getting it with the power of wind. Qiyana's just struggling to get her camps down and to heal up and to take control of her own jungle, whereas Mundo is just, his jungle is fully under his control, the rivers and drakes are fully under his control, and now he can run around the map wherever he likes, having such a strong item and experience advantage over everyone else. The enemy jungler shows on the bottom lane vision that his team has very good vision overall, I will say, and now he can go counter jungle. It's that simple. His lead now continuously snowballs because he has control of his house, and in an order is such that when the enemy jungler, and we'll do a video and talk about this very soon, the enemy jungler comes to counter jungle, there are no camps up because you have been taking them down repeatedly and quickly and in between, running around the map killing everyone. Here again, he does it to the Fiora on the top lane. This one's a little closer, but he's still able to come out on top. Her lead, her ganks early on did not translate to lead for her laners because she got all the kills. Her camp sequencing was so out of order that she ended up in an experience deficit versus the enemy jungler who was doing that. And even though they weren't able to really handily take towers, even though the game from a macro point of view is very stagnant, the Mundo is still this impenetrable wall they cannot get through, and this fight here in the river you see where he gets his 7th and 8th kills really shows his level. He's level 14 to Qiyana's level 11. And that's the benefit of farming well, and then having so much power you can do whatever you want, or as Mundo says it, to go where you please. Throw trophies in people's faces, take another dragon. Now, the one thing I would change is maybe some Rift Herald control here to really blow open some towers. It seems like a wasted opportunity. They should have used that to blow open some more towers. And you're seeing some clips from the endgame. It was a bit of a very messy, not very educational endgame whatsoever. The Mundo was just enjoying being fed, I think. They actually end up losing a Baron. They win a fight, they counter push, and basically that goes on for a few more minutes. But there is a final scorecard. Hopefully you can see the differences in a very over-the-top heavy ganking style, with one that is more centered on farming and weaving in those ganks, and you can see the differences and advantages if you do one of those correctly, and the negatives of ignoring your camps too long, and the negatives of not clearing them in order and maximizing your experience. Please let me know in the comments which jungling style you actually tend to prefer yourselves. Obviously the ganking one works out great if your laners end up having leads and perhaps your ganks are a little bit more frequent. Also, the Mundo had a very good jungling game from a pathing perspective as well as a ganking perspective, so hopefully you learned a little bit about the balance of farming, ganking, and objective focus. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like, share, and comment if you enjoyed. We always like to try to get these to 1,000 likes. Consider subscribing on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for the support, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.